It's not there because it's an annoyance. Again, we don't want to judge anger. I'm going to show you why in a little bit. We, we want to be able to pair up with it, to partner with it, to let it inform us, to tell us something's amiss, and we need to listen to that and not get lost in the intensity. Now, it's imperative, you know, that you understand that if we don't work with it, the anger becomes destructive. That little baby becomes something a lot more difficult to handle. That little baby turns into a big green monster. Now, I want you to think about that. You know the Hulk. I love Lou Ferrigno. I think that picture is great. I think it's great because when we're angry, I think the Hulk is a perfect metaphor. Now, for some of you, maybe you don't know who the Hulk is, but the Hulk is a pretty famous character, superhero, or actually, I would say that he was originally a monster. And the Hulk will get your attention. He's big, he's fierce, he's got power. He can throw a sofa through a living room window. He can uproot trees, flip over cars. Uh, he'll take over the situation at whatever cost it takes. But you have to understand the Hulk, too. And now, if you've ever seen the famous show of The Incredible Hulk, or you've read the comics, for those of you who don't know, the Hulk has an alter ego. When he's not being the Hulk, he's in his off time, he is a mild-mannered scientist named Bruce Banner, or if you're a TV buff, David Banner. He's a frail, weak, and oftentimes timid man. He avoids conflict all the time. He actually avoids conflict every chance he gets. The problem, comes about for Dr. Banner when he feels threatened, though. Whenever he feels threatened, the Hulk shows up to protect him. So someone punches Dr. Banner, someone threatens him. If his pulse or his blood pressure go up, well, all bets are off. The Hulk just turns up to protect him, to make sure he doesn't get bullied, to make sure he doesn't get hurt. He's a defense. He's the guardian, almost, to protect him. And the Hulk also can be a monster. If he's left to his own devices, if people keep attacking him or hurting him, he actually gets stronger and bigger. Anger, in the same way, anger is a protective emotion. That's its purpose, really. To tell us what we don't want in our life. Someone disrespects you at work, there's something that needs to be set right. Your spouse and you are having a disagreement, there's something going on that's not right. You need to fix it. Something, whether to protect yourself or your spouse, needs to, and again, sometimes that protection isn't based in reality, though. Sometimes it's based in ego or pride, and that can really screw us up. And so I think, though, it's important, as if anger is surfacing, and a lot of times its function is to protect us. So we have to figure out, do I really need protection from whatever this is? And realizing that the more that we, fight with it, the more that we feel attacked, the larger and more intense the emotion becomes, the more likely we get stuck in it. So anger will always help us to recognize when something's threatening us or we feel threatened, whether it's imagined or not. Now, for a long time in my professional career, I worked in my practice with people that had domestic violence. And the individuals would come to me from the police, from court, from family court, different sources, and they would meet with me, and they would have like a rap sheet, and the rap sheet would say, so and so did this, so and so hit their spouse, so and so beat up the cops, so and so had whatever. And I would sit down with these individuals, and I found a fascinating experience when I talked to them. I'd ask them this question. I would ask them immediately, how do you feel about feeling angry? during the interview. How do you feel about feeling angry? I ask that to you now. It's a big, important question for our work. And for these people with domestic violence or pretty violent histories, every single one of them, when asked, how do you feel about feeling angry? They would respond, well, sir, I absolutely hate it. I absolutely hate it. And I think that that's really important for us to recognize. The judgment of the anger. The judgment of the anger. I hate this feeling. This is bad. This is wrong. That leads to rage and a complete loss of control. Anger is normal. Anger is human. But the moment that you think that it's wrong or evil or bad, that judgment corrupts the emotion. It serves a destructive purpose now. I want to hammer this home because I'm, trying to stick with this Hulk metaphor. And I want to talk to you about a movie. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. But there was a movie a while back called The Avengers. So you got Captain America and Iron Man, and one of the characters is the Hulk. And through the whole movie, Tony Stark, who is Iron Man, keeps harassing Dr. Banner, the guy who becomes the Hulk. He keeps screwing with him the whole movie. He's prodding him with like a cattle prod, and he's trying to get him irritated and trying to screw with his work. Anything to irritate Dr. Banner to make the Hulk show up. And it's just not working. He's not turning into the Hulk. Not turning into the Hulk. And one of the things that happens near the end of the movie is Stark keeps asking him over and over and over again. Iron Man keeps saying, how did you learn to control it? What are you doing that helped you to learn how to control it? And Dr. Banner near the end of the movie smiles and says, do you want to know how I learned to control it? And Iron Man says, yeah. And Dr. Banner said, I'm always angry. I'm always angry. And I found that to be very telling. It was the acceptance of the emotion that allowed it to not rule his life, that allowed him to partner with the Hulk in a constructive way. Remember, judgment in many ways, and we're going to talk more about this, makes things very difficult. And but really that acceptance is key and difficult. As simple as it sounds, it's difficult. So we want to befriend anger. We have to take responsibility of how we feel. And that's a big part of the talk today. We want to control the power and harness the power that anger is, the emotion. To be responsible with anger means knowing how to respond to both physical and emotional responses to it. We're going to talk a little bit about that more as I go on. Now, remember that every time that anger surfaces, a hurt is simultaneously felt somewhere. I don't mean it in a dramatic, flowery type of way. I mean in a real way. You or the other person being angry, is in real pain. Or they may be very afraid. When I was a boy, my father had this thing he would say, and I found it ironic as time progressed, but he would tell me, scary people, Danny, scary people are always scared. And I've remembered that over the course of my life, and I found this to be, I'm sure you will too as you reflect on it, quite true. Even me, when I'm at my most aggravated, when I'm the loudest, when I'm the gruffest with my own children or my spouse, I'm scared. I'm worried. I've got fears. Fears about my children getting hurt, or financial stuff, or family issues. So remember that the next time your spouse or you or a friend or even a child display behavior that intimidates, or there's a gruffness, or that they start to scare you. Remember that scary people are scared.